Sai here. I'm gonna be making a bee house. I was reading that you can make a bee house that'll attract bees and that they will pollinate, you know, the things that you have nearby. And so I have a greenhouse and I have to figure out how to let the bees into the greenhouse. I've left the window open a couple times and unwanted things have come in there. So I have to figure out what to do exactly. So the first thing I'm gonna do is build the bee house. So I designed my own bee house and I thought it would be really cool to have it like the shape of a honeycomb and all that. So I did a honeycomb and then I made honeycomb pieces inside and then these circles and stuff. And I have some, actually from my intarsias, when I order intarsia from Judy Gill Roberts, they come in these tubes. And so these tubes I'm going to use for my bee house. And then I'm gonna fill the inside of the tube with these things I bought on Amazon. These are just cardboard tubes. And I read that bees don't like bamboo. And a lot of bee houses use bamboo, and they work. But anyway, I just got cardboard ones because apparently bees are okay with cardboard. So I am going to try to build that. So I did a little bit of experimentation first, and so here's the tubing. It's just a cardboard tube, and it needs to have 6 sides around it, a hexagon. So I've been trying to figure out the angles and stuff, and I think I got it figured out. I cut all of these pieces at a 30-degree angle and I've just taped it together, and the tube fits in there just so. So I thought that was awesome. So now I figured out that I need 43 of these. So I'm gonna cut those out. I angled the blade on the table saw, putting it on 30, which is right there. And then figured out the width I needed. And I had some spare pieces of thin plywood. It almost looks like paneling. So I used that, and I would cut one piece, then would flip it over and cut the other side. And I did that with all of the pieces that I needed, giving them an angle on each side. Okay, now there we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows of 6 and number 7. Yay! So now what I'm going to do is I am going to just glue those together. Actually, I'm going to cut them to length first because this is the length of the cardboard stick and these are too long. So I'm going to cut them about the same length, maybe a little bit longer. So I'm just going to cut them a little bit longer than the stick, this is roughly just over 6 inches, which I was kind of surprised because I thought they were 6 inches on the money, but they are 6 and, oh, that one's 6. Maybe my other tape measure was messed up because it said it was like 6 and something else. So I'm going to trust this tape measure and call it 6. And these are 7 and a little bit under a quarter, whatever those lines are. Anywho, all right, well, let's do this at 6 1/4 then. Or yeah, 6 1/4. I took them over to the little bandsaw and cut those down. Yay, there they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And forgot about the one I had taped up, so I took care of that real quick. Now let's glue them together. Woo! And I'm not even gonna, well, I guess they did say that the bees, we don't want them to get like poked, so I should just say on these. Just use some 100 grit real quick. Sand those down. Okay. Okay, now I'm gonna glue these all up by just putting Titebond 2 glue, interior, exterior, that's water resistant. I don't expect this to get wet, very wet, out in the weather here in Prineville, Oregon, where we don't get a whole lot of rain, although we've gotten lots of rain this year. But now that the summer is here, we're having hot, hot, hot weather, and yeah, it's gonna be really hot this week. And a lot of people don't like that. But it's still, I mean, here I am in the shop and it's like 70 degrees in here, and I don't have to worry about things getting too hot inside of the shop. All right, my plan is to just put the glue on, put some rubber bands around it to hold it while it sets up. I'm probably making this a lot more complicated than it needs to be, but I want it to look like a little beehive. I think it will. It'll be cool. That. Woo. It's working. It's working. Nice! Cool! Yay! Over there and do another. Do another. And there's the last one. Cool. Okay, while I'm waiting for those to dry, I am going to cut the cardboard. And I'm just going to cut these 6 inches like the length of these. I'll just do that. I'll just mark them all. Just mark them. And about-ish. Maybe a little bigger. And then I'm gonna just use my saw. One of my saws. They don't have to be perfect either. Don't have to be perfect. So I'll just use one of my, ooh, that one's bent. I won't use that one. I will just cut them on my little bandsaw again. If I can. If I can. Stepped on a dog toy. So I pushed away all of the cutoffs from the trimming that I just did and then cut those cardboard tubes. Okay, so these are gonna fit inside like that. Oh yeah, that's gonna work. And these have an end on it. And they say that the tubes should be closed off because the bees, I don't know, the tubes aren't supposed to be open at the end. So, there, look at that. Neat. I am going to see if I can design the back of this. I needed to make a housing for these, and I was going to cut the back piece next. Some of these are uneven, so I'm going to just go over to the sander and make them like even-ish anyway. I squared up my belt sander and just flattened up those ends. Then I sanded off the fuzzies on the wood and some of the fuzzies that were on the cardboard too. I tried to make a hexagon using this tool. I used to know what the name of this tool is, but I don't remember. But anyway, I did make a hexagon. Right, it doesn't look right. It doesn't look right. So maybe I could do it on the laser. That'll make it perfect. Okay, I got it pulled up on Lightburn. And I want this to be 7 inches right here. So let's just make this bigger. And let's see now, we can measure it. From here to here. 6.9125. I would say that's close enough. All right, so let's save the G code. We're gonna name this a hex. Save. I checked the alignment of the laser and all looked good, so I pressed the Run the G-code button. And it made a double-lined hexagon, but that's okay. I used the little bandsaw again and cut that shape out, and sanded the edges on the belt sander. And did a little fuzzy removal with some hand sanding. The pups were pretty close by. Gibbs was resting on the floor and Wally was laying on the pillow. Husband was doing some welding in the other room. Wow! And I checked to see the fit of that back piece. Yes. Now was to remove the rubber bands and glue all these hexagons together. Yeah. Come on up, Gibbs. You'd be scared. Gibbs doesn't like the welder. The noise freaks him out for some reason, so he jumped to safety in my lap while I removed the rubber bands and glued the pieces together. Then I put a big rubber band around the whole thing and let that glue set up. Next was to make the walls of the housing. Since the 30 degrees setting and flipping the wood over after each cut worked so well, the small hexagons, I figured I'd do the same with these walls. So I cut the angles, then cut them to length with the miter saw. I'm going to use these for spacers. I found that the back hexagon was a teeny bit too big, so the walls weren't fitting snug up to the inner hexagons. But when I added this extra piece, it made it so the walls fit just right. So I glued them on and rubber banded them in place until the glue was set. Okay, this has been setting up for a while. And then glued the walls to the sides. And used a couple of rubber bands to hold that together while the glue set up. Man, I've used a lot of rubber bands for this project. Next was to make the frame around the house. I used tongue and groove blue pine that I had, and I cut off one of the grooved parts, then cut them down to size. Then made the angles on them using my disc sander, again set at 30 degrees. This uses up the sandpaper pretty quickly, but the eraser stick gives it a bit more life. I didn't have enough blue pine to have 6 sides all the same length, so I ended up making a couple of them in pieces, with one of them being 2 parts and one of them being 3. If I was making this for someone, I would have cut more blue pine, but since this is for me, I didn't care. Then I put a few Braddales in just to help, and I got one cockeyed, of course, so I tried to remove it, and when I did, I cracked a piece of the trim. But I was able to glue it up and put a little cute clamp on it, and all was good. And I put brads on the walls too. Remember, this project is for attracting bees, so I don't think they care too much about mess-ups, and for this project, I'm not stressing about it either. I removed the rubber bands around the body. Then I thought I could stabilize it a bit more with a strap of leather. I found this little bit of leather at a garage sale and thought it would be perfect for a little support and a little decor. But again, the bees probably don't care, but I thought it was cool. And finally, I sanded the top just to even up things and to get rid of any sharp spots and to smooth up that repair area. Husband helped me put it up on the greenhouse. Okay, the recommendations were for it to be at least 6 feet high off the ground, and so that is. And it's facing like southeast-ish, and that's cool because it said in the evenings they want it to be not as much sun so that they stay cooler, and so it's right in the shade, which works perfectly. Yay! So then here are the tubes. I've been waiting for this part. As for stopping up the ends of the tubes, I read that the bees will use mud to do that, but for some reason you're supposed to have the tubes already closed off. Anyway, I read a few different things, and none of it really made sense, so I'm letting the cardboard tubes just sit pushed up to the back of the Intarsia tubes. Awesome! And my plan! So my plan and the end result. I think it looks like it. Yay! Sweet! So there it is, the bee house. Just talked to Hub about putting some kind of vent right here for the bees specifically so that they can get into the greenhouse. And he did that for me already, and here is a picture of it. How cool is that? And here's where it comes into the greenhouse. And I also put some mint there to allure the bees in. And I also got the attractant spray too, and sprayed the bee house, so I'm just waiting for bees to move in. I'm so excited to see what happens. Well, that was awesome. So thanks for joining me, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye! But wait, there's more! Okay, I'm gonna make a sign, and I'm gonna use this strange piece of wood. I think it'll be perfect. The verse I picked is Genesis 8:22 from the Christian Standard Bible. It says, "As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night will not cease." And a few months ago was seed time, and pretty soon it's going to be harvesting. Woohoo! This is how the sign turned out, and I put it right under the bee house. Here is the whole shebang, and now I thank you again for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye! The misters just went off in the greenhouse. Hey, so they're getting watered in there. Happy plants! Yay!